YouTube, this is Matt Pullin, and I discovered something very interesting today. You can duplicate my results by going to Google and typing in Pullin-Diallo. And about the 7th link down from this search, ask the Grandmaster the questions you need answers to endgame ... It's a page from ymlp.com. And it's got Pullin-Diallo, Chicago Open, Oak Brook 2003. Alright, so we click this link, and the Chessville Weekly. It's got a position, some quotes, some links, ads for books and stuff, but mostly this is a link farm. And down here, where it says Annotated Games, New York Masters Game of the Week by analysis by I. M. Greg Shahady, Chess Siberia, Rajabov, Desarevish, Bosnia. Alright, so then we got this game down here, Pullin-Diallo, Chicago Open, Oak Brook 2003, annotated by Jack Peters of the LA Times. This would be International Master Jack Peters, who writes a column for the LA Times. So if we follow this link, because that previous website didn't use a permanent link, this is actually an article from 2008 about the women's blitz champion, or the U.S. Women's Championship. So there's no trace anywhere on this website, the Los Angeles Times, in Jack Peters' column, of this game that I played in 2003. But apparently, Jack Peters at one point annotated this game for his column. I just can't find it anywhere. So if you don't all email Jack Peters at once, but if you have a subscription to the LA Times or know how you can possibly get a hold of this article, I think it'd be pretty interesting to see what Jack Peters has to say about this game played in the under 2000 section of the Chicago Open between a couple of 1800 kids. So I looked for this game in my pile of really old score sheets, and I actually found it. So I'm going to go over it real quick. I was white in this game. It's from round 6. The date is 5/26/03. It's a Queen's Gambit declined. I'm white, and my opponent is Pullin-Diallo. So it's a Queen's Gambit declined, pretty standard variation. And then b6, and after b6 I exchange pawns on d5, because the b6 move weakens his c-file if he ever wants to play pawn to c6. To support his d-pawn. So now I develop my bishop to d3, and then he plays c5, and I bring my knight to e5, h6, and I don't play this type of line in the Queen's Gambit declined anymore. Here, Rybka thinks pretty much everything is equal. I played h4. And the point of h4, it's just to start some swashbuckling, I think. For instance, this cannot ever be taken, because after h takes, there's a crushing attack on the black king side, and it compels black to give the piece back right away. For instance, if knight to e8, then one of my favorite checkmate patterns, rook to h8 check, deflecting the king to a position where queen h5 is check, and then there's mate on h7 with the queen next. So instead, Diallo played bishop to e6, supporting his d5 pawn. And now I play rook c1 and queen c8, bishop to b1, pulling the bishop back, preparing to set up a battery against the black king. So really, there's not a lot of safe places for my king to go. I don't really have an operation in the center. Everything is just focused around the black king. So knight to c6, and here, he's sort of threatening to take apart my center. So I have to go in for this attack now. I traded for the knight on f6, and I played queen to d3, threatening checkmate on h7. And according to Rybka, actually the best defense for black is to play rook to e8, creating a space for his king to go. But instead, Diallo decided to try to defend the castle with g6, and now it's time to sack. So f takes g, queen takes, bishop blocks, queen h7, king f7, bishop g6. So now the king is tied to this bishop on g7, and there's only one square to go to guard it, and that's f6. And here, this is very messy. Rybka suggested my best line might be e4, and then the best response to e4 is queen to d7 to protect the bishop on g7, which is loose if the black king has to move. And then e5 check, knight takes e5, d takes, king takes. And what a crazy position. Look at where the kings are. Both of the kings are trapped in the center. So instead of e4, I played pawn to g4 instead, trying to get at the king this way. Of course, this capture is not possible because of knight takes d5 check. So here, black makes the losing move. The correct defense is to play rook g8, defending the bishop on g7. And now g5 check, h takes g check, and now taking the pawn would get mated in 5. So instead, black should retreat. And the bishop on g7 is guarded. The black king is creeping away towards the center, away from all these lines that are opening up. But see, it's not real clear, because then I have f4 and preparing to continue my attack on the black king with f5, f6. But this, I'd be real suspicious of this, because the white king has no protection. Alright, after g4, he actually played rook h8, and this loses. Everything leads to mate after this. But his idea is he's trapping the queen, forcing me to play this check. And king takes g. And now, I have to take, because my queen is trapped on g7, and now my rook is hanging. But the problem is, after king d2, now I have this very dangerous discovered opportunity with the queen and bishop on this king, and also f4 check could be a threat in some lines. For instance, if queen to g8, then I can play f4 check and then king g4, and now I have this double check. King h4, I can take the rook, he blocks, and now I set up another discovered battery with the queen and bishop. So he can check on g2, and I can block with check. Coming to g3, queen g5 check, bishop g4, queen h4 mate. A very silly final position. So instead he played queen to h8, and now I check with the pawn, and he comes to h4, and I check here, bishop h3, and now actually I don't play the best move. The best move is bishop to f5, threatening queen g4 mate because of the pinned bishop. And if queen takes queen, then just rook takes his mate. So actually I played queen to d7, threatening to take on h3 for mate. So he plays to g3, and now I check with the knight. He was to g2, I take on d5 for check, and rook h2 check, king f1, queen h1 mate. So this, I'm not sure why Jack Peters would be interested in this game for his column. Maybe it's just because it's a romantic attacking game, a la the 16th century chess, with kings going all over the board and next to no accurate defensive play. Well, if any of you can find out what happened to this article by Jack Peters in the LA Times about this game that I played years and years ago, please let me know. Thanks.